Alright, welcome everybody. This is Niclas Huschenbeth and today I would like to show you my final game, last round game of the Mitropa Cup 2018, which was played in Italy. And the Mitropa Cup is a team competition, 10 teams played against each other. Germany was one of them and I played for Germany on board 1. In the last round we played against Croatia and we knew we needed to win this match in order to have a chance to fight for the medals, either silver or bronze. So let's get to the game. I was playing with the white piece against Grandmaster Davorin Kuljasevic, and I start the game with 1 e4. We can actually turn on the engine because I'm back home and I can use my strong computer here. I played the Ruy Lopez and we go for the main line. Rook e1, d6, c3, castle, but here the absolute main move is to go h3, stopping bishop g4, and then to play d4 next move. But I played this move, 9 d4 immediately, which is interesting, and I think it's a quite interesting sideline, or also alternative. Maybe it would be too much to call the sideline. Bishop g4 now makes sense, pinning the knight, putting pressure on the pawn. And now bishop e3. The pawn on e4 cannot really be taken well because of bishop d5. And in the past, my opponent had played e takes d4, which I had prepared mostly. But in this game, he played bishop h5, which looks maybe strange at first, but often the bishop is hit with h3 anyway, followed by g4. So black just steps out of this h3 move already, and he has some idea of knight g4 as well, and it's quite a good move, in fact. Maybe even the best move. Well, okay, this might be too much of a discussion, but bishop h5 is a decent move for sure, and I prepared a4. Now he played b4, there's also knight a5, but b4 is completely fine. Now knight bd2, takes, and here is also the move d5, but he took on d4. Now, I vaguely remembered bishop takes d4 to be the move. C takes d4 is also possible, but then black can maybe play knight b4, maybe d5, so it should be okay for black. Bishop takes d4, and yeah, black doesn't want to take the bishop here because he would give me a nice center, and he played knight a5, which is good. I don't want to give him my bishop on b3, so I go bishop a2 back, keeping the bishop on this diagonal, putting pressure on the pawn on f7, and he played c5. Bishop e3, and now he played d5, which is interesting. Of course, black can also play differently, but this is a very direct approach. And now I played e5, and he has to go back with the knight. He cannot go to d7 because they would hang the pawn on d5, and g4 also looks weird, and knight e4 would be also not a good idea because this endgame looks pretty promising for me as I can attack this pawn on e4. So knight e8 was forced, but this is actually quite decent because the knight is coming to c7, possibly to e6, and it's well placed there. I went knight f1, attacking the pawn on d5, knight c7, knight g3, attacking the bishop. The bishop goes back to g6, can also go to g4. I wasn't quite sure how I would react here, but I thought maybe I can play the queen to d3 or to c2, and I have ideas like bring the rook here, maybe go the bishop on this diagonal again, and who knows, maybe I have some attacking chances. But he played bishop g6, and I went h4 with the idea to attack the bishop with h5. The pawn on h4 cannot really be taken that well because I can take on c5. That would be a good trade for me, pawn on the edge of the board against the pawn on c5. So he goes h6 to get some space for his bishop. And now I actually decide to exchange this bishop. The bishop on a2 wasn't doing too much. It's guarding the c4 square, that's true. But on the other hand, I want to get something going with my knights. And this square on f5 is very important in this position, because once I can get a knight to f5, I always have ideas against the black king. I have ideas of sacrificing the knight on g7 or h6, and creating threats in general against the black king. So this is also why I played h4, h5 first, so I would have some more pressure there, some more chances with the pawn on h5. So now we trade the bishop, so I get access to the square. On the other hand, black gets access to this square on c4. Bishop takes b1, rook takes, queen d7. And funnily enough, up until here, all this had been seen in the correspondence game between two players. Correspondence, for all of you who don't know, is correspondence chess is when people take several days for one move and they play a very long game with computer assistance. And of course, these games are very high quality. So far we've been playing quite decent chess, both of us. And here in the correspondence chess game, queen d3 was played, which was my first instinct. Actually, then I want to play queen c2 to keep the pawn on a4 protected, but the idea of both moves is that the knight is coming to f5. And somehow computer doesn't like queen c2 that much because of knight c4. I wonder what the difference is after queen d3, knight c4, now knight f5 apparently is better. Yeah, the queen has a better grip here, also hitting the pawn on d5. But okay, position is very complex because the knight on f5 alone won't win me the game, and this knight is also not bad. So I felt like, I might not have that much here. And then I saw this attractive idea, because I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. First I want to play queen c2 pretty quickly, because it looked logical, connect the rooks, play knight f5, but I want to make sure I don't miss anything. There's also this move, knight e4, which is interesting, to hit the pawn c5, but I didn't really see what I can do next after queen c6. There's no next square for the knight to go to. But I saw another idea, which is to play e6, and that's what I did. And looked very attractive to sacrifice the pawn like this, and it posed some practical problems for black. Of course, you can't take off the queen because of bishop takes c5, winning material here. And if he takes off the pawn, now you can already see that this pawn is nice on h5 because it gives support to a knight on g6 possibly. And I thought this gives me great compensation here. Queen g4, maybe even rook b6, sacrificing the heir with bishop takes h6. I quite like this position. So he took with the knight, which is best. And also I play knight e5. And I thought here that he has to keep this pawn protected, but he doesn't have to. He played queen c7. Queen d6 doesn't make sense because it just gives me a tempo with knight f5, and if he takes on e5 now I can take on e7 with check, and I can take on c5 with tempo, so this is good for me. But queen d8 is very interesting, and the move I expected, but I was pretty confident about my chance here with the two knights and sacrificing possibilities. Knight f5, bishop f6, and here I was looking at bishop takes h6. Maybe I could also retreat with the bishop to c1. But I mean, the move you want to play is bishop takes h6. And it gets really interesting. So black has to be precise here in this defense. He has to play bishop takes e5. Actually, I saw bishop takes e5, but I didn't see the follow-up. I mostly looked at g takes h6. But here, queen g4 is not that clear, but very clear is knight takes h6. As you can see, the bar on the left is going up, king g7, knight takes f7, and the point which I missed in my calculation is that cute little check here, h6, and this opens up the h5 square. So after king g8 takes, check. Black has 3 pieces for the rook right now, but the king is completely open, white increases the pressure, and he's just completely winning here, in fact. So instead of taking back in this position, black should take on e5 and now play this move, queen f6, hitting the rook and the bishop. And this is really interesting because the line continues. Bishop takes g7, knight takes, queen g4, beautiful move, going after this knight on g7. And yeah, crazy position. Maybe black should best bring back the knight, and then it's very unclear because white has a few pawns for the piece, about equal, the computer says. But you might wonder what happens after queen takes e5, and I just want to show you this crazy line, h6, knight c4. Black has to find some only moves here to stay in the game. Rook fb8, another only move. Takes, and now black's threatening rook b1, which is why white doesn't have time for this, but he can go f4, and again, only moves here. Knight d2, only move. And here now it is a move repetition, king g8, and draw should be agreed. Yeah, so a lot of fireworks stayed behind the curtain because my opponent did not go for queen d8 but played a much more practical move, queen c7. And now I can take the pawn, but black gets his piece into the game and plays the bishop to f6, where it also helps defending and hits the knight on e5. And here I thought for a while before taking on d5 because I wasn't sure how to react here. I played knight g4, which is interesting, but probably not best. Maybe I should go f4 here, but I just didn't like the setup, also weakening my king position with f4, but probably this is what I should do, and the position is about equal. But I liked knight g4. I want to take on f6, of course, but once again I'm sacrificing a pawn c3. And now I played rook c1. Here I had another interesting move available. I thought about it, just sacrificing the exchange. And this works, but doesn't give more than a draw for white. Queen b7 to try to trade queens. Knight f takes h6. And here black cannot take the knight on h6 because of knight f6 check, king g7, and bishop takes h6, very nice. King takes f6, now there's queen h4, and there's a sudden checkmate with the pawn. And after king takes h6, the king is chased out into the open, and he will not survive this, for example, here. Or if the king goes to g4, then black is going to lose the queen and lose the game. So after knight f takes h6, here black will need to play king h8, and now queen f5, and after some defense here, this would lead to a balanced position somehow. Okay, but I thought this wasn't necessary. I thought I can just play rook ec1 and I have compensation here, which is true, but it's a question if I have enough compensation. But here my opponent had a choice between bishop d2 and bishop d4, and he chose the wrong one. He played bishop d4, after which I definitely have more than enough compensation. Bishop d2 is better because it also activates the rook. I thought the rook doesn't do much on d2, but it's also the point to get this rook into a game. Let's say knight f5 and rook fd8. And here white has to watch out to not be worse. Computer actually suggests to trade queens. Certainly not something I want to do in the game, because of course this takes away any attacking chances I have, but this is the best move according to the computer, and then to play this endgame and use the b file maybe to get some play. And it's very complicated still, I would say, not easy. But this is what black needs to do. He played bishop d4, offered a draw. But I felt that after knight f5, which I played, black really has to watch out. And in fact, here my opponent played the losing move. But the position is tricky for black anyway. He needs to take on e3. Queen takes. And I always have these ideas. So really, black has to be careful, and he has to find knight d4 here to trade one of these knights. No, I don't have any good sacrifice. If I play this, black can defend with f6 still. And he also has a fork here looming in the position, so this is okay for black. So after knight d4, I should take. Pawn takes, and now the queen is also attacked. My queen is attacked as well, so I can sacrifice on h6. And now black shouldn't take back on h6. He also has some problems with the knight sometimes. Here, for example, rook takes c7. There's a threat of rook c5 picking up the knight, which is awkward to meet. So you should just move to queen, and then I take another pawn a6. But position remains very, very much complicated, because black has this passed pawn on d4, and who knows what's going on here. Computer says white is a little bit better, but of course still a full fight ahead. After rook f8, though, it's pretty much just over for black. And the question for you guys, why is it over? So pause the video right now and try to solve this. Alright, got it? Okay, so I can take on d4, And well, the pawn is pinned, the rook cannot take because of knight takes, so the only logical move here would be to take with the knight, but now I have knight f6, and now that the knight is not guarding g7 anymore, this tactic just works because of the g takes f6. There's checkmate in 2 moves. The queen coming to g7. So black would need to play king f8 here, and actually could have still tried this because I'm not winning on the spot here, as I thought during the game that I can just play queen d4 here, but black can still fight on. It's lost, but he can at least win the queen against 2 rooks. Still, position would be lost here. Can play rook b4, for example, going after his pawn, and the knight is still strong. f5, this knight is not in the game. This will be a matter of time, but black can play on for a little bit. I could also, instead of playing queen takes d4 here, just go queen g4 and play with the extra exchange, even though, okay, this is also winning, but still, white has to work some more here to bring this home. Probably the other version is better. Anyways, opponent queen f4, and now you can see the bar is all the way up. White is completely winning here in many ways, but I chose one in style. So what did I play here? One more question for you guys. Alright, so in style was bishop takes g7, and my opponent resigned because if he takes back, then I take his queen. If he takes my queen, then I give checkmate on f6. The knights and the bishop work together perfectly. And let's keep this position at the board. And yeah, I won this game, and maybe this was my best game in the tournament actually, because I just pushed and exerted a lot of pressure with this pawn sacrifice. Admittedly, it wasn't maybe 100% correct, the second one. I got good compensation, but in a practical game, it's very difficult for black to play this. And my opponent was somewhat low on time. He had 10 minutes left for about 10 moves. And that's why he decided to play one move quickly, rook fe8. But then it turned out this was immediately the losing mistake. And I think this was a direct result of my play in the moves before. So we were able to win this match 3.5 to 1/2, which was our best effort in the competition, and actually ended up on 3rd place behind Hungary and Italy, who won the Mitropa Cup 2018. And overall, I'm of course very happy with my result. 3 wins, 6 draws, didn't lose a game, and also my play was decent for most of the games, I would say. You've seen 7 of the games. Well, if you've seen them all, if you haven't, I would recommend you to check them out because I think they were all quite interesting. The games I posted here on YouTube, and yeah, was fun. Was a lot of fun in Italy, and well, for everybody watching, thanks for following. Hope these game analyses were instructive, interesting for you guys, and if they were and you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe and also leave a like for this video. Alright, that's it from me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.